we're going to talk about ways that you could help your second grader read informational text. And that's what we're going to focus on today. When you are home reading aloud to your son, ways that you can help your son understand informational text better. And a lot of parents think, well, if I'm going to read aloud to my child, I would rather read a story, a fairy tale, or something like that that's fun. But with the new standards, the new Florida standards, we're getting, the guideline is to read 50% of the books in informational text. So I was going to use this dinosaur book as an example for ways that you can help. The things that you want to look for are, you want to point out the text features in a nonfiction book. For example, the table of contents. You would want to explain to him why the table of contents is here and how that's going to help him better understand this book. Okay. There are other things, like in this book in particular about dinosaurs, they have a family tree, which is, it's just a graphic to help understand how dinosaurs are classified and connected. There are sidebars, so when you're reading, you would want to talk to him about why the author put this here, why the author put that there, and there are, there are comparisons in size. You'll see as you go through there are maps. Here's a picture of a globe, and here's a picture of what the continents looked like together. They're just different things to help students understand the context of dinosaurs. So you would want to point out those things. There are also, sometimes words are italicized or bolded, or there might be footnotes, and you would want to stop as you're reading the book and point those things out to him, because we're finding a lot of students are missing like footnote information as they're reading stories. They don't understand what the purpose of that is. Okay. Also, like for example, this picture of the skull, you'd want to point out to him what captions are, so that they wouldn't just skip over them and just read the text. You might also want to point out what an index is, or if there happens to be a glossary in that particular book, you'd want to point those things out. And we have put together a text feature brochure to kind of help you as you're going through it point out some of the text features that you might see in a nonfiction book. For example, there might be a graph, or there might be a sidebar of information that adds to the text and the meaning of the text, the map and the purpose of the map, why the author put it there, a picture or illustration and the caption underneath, and then of course all the text features for words, whether they be bolded, italicized, underlined, or highlighted. And what is the title of that book?
Life-Size Dinosaurs.
Okay, and what does this say?
David Bergen.
Sound it out.
Bergen,
very good. And who do you think that is?
the author.
That's probably the author. He could be the illustrator too, because it doesn't say right on the front of the book who the illustrator is. So I might assume that he's both. Okay. And as you're going through, this book there's a lot of content in this book. There's a lot to understand, so don't feel when you're sitting down with him that you have to finish it all in one sitting. You could just do like a few pages a night, or a few pages, a day until you get through it. So just take your time and don't feel like you have to finish it all.
Okay.
And also, he could read a section, and then you could read a section so that he doesn't get bogged down with the book.
Okay.
Okay. And this is what? This is called, what's the top of the page?
What's this called? Yeah.
Contents.
The contents. Do you know what that tells you?
Where they
Like, do you know what these numbers might happen to be?
the page numbers,
Right.
where you can go to find out about each one.
Right. This kind of tells you, it breaks the book down into sections so that you can, like if you just wanted to read about the meat eaters, you could go to page 14. So this book is not necessarily the type of book that you would read from front to back. You might just go to one section if you were, if you were looking up some information. Okay, and there's a lot of information on that page, isn't there? So, you're just going to read one little section at a time and try to see how they all fit together. Okay? So I'm going to let you take over from here.
Okay. If you go to the table of contents, what do you want to read about? You want to read about the meat eaters? Doesn't that sound cool?
Yeah.
Where do we need to go for that?
Page 14.
Can you find that? Where are the page numbers?
Down here.
Right there on the bottom.
Good job.
All right, there's the meat eaters. You want to start off reading, and I'll read a section? You can read a section, I can read a section.
Most carnivores had very similar teeth, sharp, shredded, serrated,
Do you know what that means?
sharpened.
Do you know what that means?
It can mean
Sharp, serrated, and shaped like
daggers.
daggers. Can you look at the picture here? Those look like sharp teeth, don't they? Can you read what this says here? It'll help you explain what's in the text there.
Of Pteranodon
Trudon?
has exactly 100 teeth.
Those teeth look really sharp, don't they? Like a knife. Okay, keep reading.
They were all used for the same purpose, gripping onto prey and tearing and ripping flesh from bone.
So why did they have sharp teeth? What do they use their teeth for?
For gripping and tearing and ripping flesh from bone.
Right. If they were plant eaters, they probably wouldn't need all those sharp teeth, would they? All right, do you want me to read a section? This section's called Clever Killer. Trudon, remember it showed us up here that this was Trudon, this was a skull. That was a dead one. I guess they found a skull. That's what it looked like when the flesh had rotted off. Trudon means wounding tooth, and the saw-edged teeth of this late Cretaceous period meat eater would certainly have put a quick end to its prey. Although it wasn't a big animal, Trudon had a large brain for its size and is considered to have been one of the more intelligent dinosaurs. It lived in packs, and its large eyes mean that it probably hunted at dawn and at dusk. Why do you think it needed large eyes?
So it could see in the dark.
Right, because at dawn and at dusk, there's not a whole lot of light, is there?
And sometimes it's foggy.
Mm-hmm.
Can I point something out for
Sure.
just a second?
Go ahead.
One thing I noticed, sometimes, you know how he stopped up there and said, do you know what serrated means? Sometimes there's clues in the text. And if you notice, right down here, it said saw-edged teeth. Serrated, saw-edged teeth. What does a saw edge look like? Do you have any idea?
Looks sort of like a tip, then kind of a curvy piece.
Kind of like jaggedy, like that. Okay, that's what serrated means. Like you use a serrated knife to cut bread because it can kind of saw it. So that's, sometimes when you don't know a word, just keep reading, and sometimes there are clues. Okay.
Do you want to read this section? Well, let's look at this right here.
Yeah.
What is that right there? What does that say?
Trudon tooth.
That's what their tooth looks like. And what does that say right there?
Life size.
So what does that mean, you reckon? What do you think that means?
Probably about how big it gets.
That's about how that picture is representative of how big the tooth actually was. So if this animal is still here today, that's about the size of his tooth. That probably wouldn't feel good going into you, would it? Even though it's kind of small, it looks pretty sharp. And see those, look at that little edge right there. See how it's got little bitty jagged features?
Right.
That's what it means when it says serrated up there. It's a repeated pattern of sharp teeth. Just like a saw. You know how when I take a saw and I cut a tree, it's got all the little teeth in it and they just cut right through it? That's what he would have done with that. When he stuck that into that flesh, it would just rip the flesh apart so that he could eat it. Even though he's a small animal. Hey, Ryan, what does this look like it's showing us here? What is this showing right here?
Well, it's showing.
Let's read what it says right here. This text right here is describing what we're seeing in this picture. So what does this say? But it's describing
Supercontinent
supercontinent
of
Pangea.
Pangea.
Yeah, Pangea is a long time ago. Scientists know that all the land that get together that represented all the what's currently all the different continents was all in one giant landmass. Basically, the animals could travel from one part of land all the way to the other parts. So everything was stuck together before everything had broken apart. So when it says supercontinent, what that means is it's the combination of all of the present day continents that were kind of stuck together still. So what this map is doing is it's showing you if you had lived, well, 220 million years ago, this is sort of what things would have looked like. So when we read that up here, even though they told you in text what it was, this kind of gives you a picture to kind of show you this is what it would have looked like if you had lived there. You know, like when we're watching the news at night and they show the globe and you can see the clouds and stuff like that, and you see, oh, we live right there, and you can see the way the continent looks. If there had been a map back then, if the dinosaurs had been watching TV and they'd had the weather, this is what their globe would have looked like.
Right.
And
Helps
here's
you to
another.
better understand the story. Right.
Right. Gives you a picture. A picture helps a lot of times to kind of let you imagine in your mind what you've just read. This little caption describing this picture. What did it say? It says the skull of Trudon has exactly 100 teeth. Do you notice how that's italicized right there? It says has exactly 100 teeth. Why do you think they're doing? Why do you think they did that? Why do you think they italicized
To
that?
tell you how many teeth they have,
Mm-hmm.
so you don't have to count like all of those right there.
Well, what they're trying to do is they're trying to draw your attention to that because it's such a cool fact. It has exactly 100 teeth. Isn't that cool? So it's that whenever you see words, if you look right here on a little cheat sheet, words that are bolded or words that are italicized or underlined or highlighted, those are meant to draw your attention to those because usually it's either a really cool fact or something that they really want to draw attention to.
So don't be afraid to pick up an informational text and use this brochure that we put together to point out the text features with your child. It'll be a positive experience for both of you.